Hi everyone and welcome back to another class. Today is a slightly different format to my normal videos. Today is a how-to guide. So an exercise move that I do a lot in my classes is the clam. So today we're going to break it down to make sure that you are doing it correctly in all of your classes. So pick any side. We are going to do it on the other side just to make sure you are equal on both sides. So let's start with our right hand side. So lie yourself all the way down onto that right hand side for me please. So we're going to just do our normal clam. You're going to extend one arm out on your mat and then just relax into your mat. So let's get the foot position correct first. So I'm just going to prop myself up because it's easier to talk to you. With your feet, make sure they are directly in line with your sit bones. So from your fingertips to your shoulders, to your hips, to your feet is in this lovely long line. So just give your feet a quick glance. Make sure they are directly underneath your sit bones, your tailbone. Then what I want you to focus on, your knees. Your knees are going to be one on top of the other. They're not, your top knee isn't further back than your bottom knee. If it is, it means your hips have rolled forward. Your hips are the key thing in your clam. So right now you can see that my top hip, my waistband is slanted towards my shoulder. So you can notice that my waistband here is on a bit of a diagonal. My hips are at a bit of a diagonal. Place your hand onto your hip for me and then I want you to push away. Do you see that? Push. So my tights now, the hem is one on top of the other. My hips are one on top of the other. I've got a gap now underneath my waist. What I want you to focus on is this top hip. This has now made sure my knees are one on top of the other. They're now aligned. So from my belly button downwards, I'm now aligned. And then you just relax your shoulders. So this is the setup. If you're finding it difficult to get your hips stacked, grab a jumper, a yoga block, place it underneath your waist for me and help yourself up. It doesn't matter if you need the help. The focus here is on keeping those hips one on top of the other. I'm going to prop myself up now. So once you are in the correct position and your tights are in line or shorts are in line, your hips are in line, knees and feet are together, squeeze your heels together. Imagine there is a piece of paper in between your heels. Squeeze it together. Big inhale in, keep squeezing, lift that knee up to the ceiling. Notice that mine isn't a huge movement. If you're finding this very easy and you're actually getting a really big range, chances are you've leant backwards or you've let this hip roll in. So can you see the difference? If this is me letting my hip roll, I can see that my range is quite large, it's quite wide. The minute my hips are stacked, my range is much smaller. So it doesn't matter if your range is really small here. The focus is on keeping those heels glued together, hips are square, and you're pushing that top hip away all the time. So like I said, if you need that jumper, go grab it, place it underneath your waist for me. And keep imagining there's a piece of paper in between your heels. So squeezing those butt cheeks for me. Good, you've got 4 more. We are going to take it over to the other side too. So you do get a full workout here. 3 more. Here for 2. On 1, lower that knee down. So all place your hand onto your hip now. We're going to lift both feet off the mat and just check that hand didn't collapse in. If it did, let's push it away again. Let's make sure that we've got those hips square. We're trying to lift that waist up from the mat and our heels are still glued together. Big breath in, exhale, drive through your heels, lift that top knee up and then slowly lower. With both feet lifted, your hips are going to want to roll because it makes it much easier. So push those hips away. Think about that length. You want to think about this top waist being the same length as your bottom waist. If it starts to shorten and this one lengthens, push that hip away. So it's a lot of pushing that hip away, but I'm hoping by now you're starting to feel this left butt cheek. Keep squeezing your heels together. So piece of paper with your secret on it or some money and you're just grabbing that piece of paper in between those heels. And again, those hips stay nice and square. Good, you've got 3 more, then we're going to go into a kick out. Here for 2. On 1, you lift that knee up. You're then going to extend that leg out in line with your body. You pull that heel back in, you lower down. So we lift, we press that heel out in line with your body. Try and keep it in line with your hip. Bring it back in and then lower. That bottom foot can stay lifted or you can drop it if you want to give yourself a little bit of a break. But I want you to keep this slow, and I want you again to think about this hip. So when we do our kickouts, a lot of the time we will let this hip roll in because again, it makes it easier. So the whole time you keep this hand on your hip, you control this hip, you make sure that you're not letting it roll. And as you kick out, I want you now to try and lift that leg a little bit higher without moving your hip. So rather than rolling that hip and you can lift that leg up, you push that hip away. Notice that my range has dropped, but I'm keeping that length here, and I'm going to work more glute as opposed to using my waist to do the movement for me. Good, we've got 4. I'm really hoping you're all starting to feel your left butt cheek here. And 3, try and lift up even more if you can. Here for 2. On 1, extend that leg long. Good. You're going to float that leg out on the diagonal. You can drop that bottom foot now. Turn your toes to the floor and let's push that hip away again. You're going to lower down and lift up. So you notice my hip is not moving. My hip is staying completely square. And I'm thinking about that heel squeezing up to the ceiling. So squeeze and lift. Use that breath. Use the exhale as you lift. Keep those hips square. 5 more. And 4. Your left butt cheek should be on fire. 3 more. Here for 2, hold it up on 1, hold it there, find that length, lift up from that bottom waist, lift that heel a little bit higher, hold for 4, 3, 2, and come all the way in on 1. Just give that leg a little bit of a shake. We are going to do the other side, just to make sure you're equal. But I'm hoping, going through those tips, that you felt that left butt cheek a little bit more. We are now going to do it on the right hand side. You may notice that one side is easier than the other to keep those hips square. So, starting position, lie yourself down onto that left arm. Let those feet connect, let your knees connect. And now that hip, have you noticed again? My tights are on an angle, my hips are on an angle, push away. Find that length. If you need to, grab that jumper. So, big breath in, make sure your heels are in line with your butt cheeks. And then on your exhale, lift up. So my range is much smaller on my right hand side. I've got a much tighter hip on this right hand side. So, my range is really small. So naturally, what my body wants to do is it wants to roll backwards. It wants to lean backwards, give me more space. But in fact, I should keep my hips exactly where they are and really think about pressing up into this right thigh. So just check on your body now that your hips are nice and square. And you're really thinking about finding that length. So you're keeping both sides of your waist the same length. If one starts to shorten, press away, or grab that jumper and then place it underneath your waist for me. So really think about lifting up off the mat. Good, remember those heels, you're gripping those heels together like you're holding a piece of paper in between those heels, or some money, something, and you're just grabbing them together. But here for 5, let's push away. Here for 4, relax those shoulders. 2, 3 more. A lot of the time when we start to feel intense through a muscle, we tend to hunch up. 2 more. And last one, let's lower that knee down. Lift both heels up for me. Again, just notice my hips rolled in. I'm just going to push it away. I'm going to lift up from that waist. Heels glued on your inhale, exhale, press up, and then slowly lower. So again, we're keeping this hip nice and square. By you keeping your hand on this hip the whole time, you can become aware of where your hip is. So you'll notice if you start to roll or you're rolling backwards, you keep it nice and aligned. You think about the top of your tights, your shorts, as staying one on top of the other. We're not letting it slant in. Good, I'm hoping by now we are starting to feel some right butt cheek coming into this right thigh. Good, here for 5, and we're going to come into those kickouts. Here for 4, keep pushing that hip away. 3 more, relax your shoulder. Good, 2. On 1, let's add in that kick out. So you lift, you drive that heel out in line with your body, squeeze the butt cheeks, keep those hips square. Bring your heel back in and then lower that knee down. So the whole time you are keeping those hips one on top of the other. We are not letting that hip roll in. It is natural to want to let that hip roll as you pull that knee in, but you keep pushing it away. Good, that bottom foot can just rest down if you would like, otherwise keep it lifted to work that left leg a little bit too. Good, keep pushing it away, think about lifting up from the waist. If you aren't feeling this and you're struggling to lift up that waist, grab that jumper, place it underneath here, and instantly you're gonna feel that connection through the glutes. Good, 5 more. Lovely work everyone. Here for 4, push that hip away, feel those butt cheeks starting to fire up. 3 more. Good, we're here for 2. On one, press out. Good, make sure those hips are square. Sweep that leg forward, turn your toes to the floor. Push that hip away, that's lower, and then lift, drive up with that heel. Keep your hip square. This is when your hip will want to roll in. Your body will be like, it is easier to let that hip roll in, but you're gonna keep that hip where it is. You're gonna keep that rotation. You've got 5 of these, and lift, good. You can drop that lower leg if you want. Here for another 3, squeeze. Here for 2. And last one, lift and hold. Press the hip away, lift that leg a little bit higher. Hold for 4, 3, 2, and come all the way in on 1. Well done, team. Just sit yourself up. We're just going to stretch out those hips. Bring the soles of your feet together. Let your elbows just press down onto those knees. Sit up nice and tall, and then on your exhale, just try and lean forward ever so slightly, pushing down into those knees. This is just going to help with your clam. So obviously, the tighter you are through the hips, the smaller your clam is. So the more we can stretch out these hips, the bigger your clams will be. Good. Hold for 4, 3, 2, and last one. Come all the way up. Well done, guys. Just coming into a little ball on your mat. Obviously, we're going to do our roll-ups. Big inhale and exhale. Slowly roll yourself all the way up. Nice and slowly come through your lower spine, mid, into your upper spine. Once you get to the top, big shoulder roll for me. Good. Take both hands to the ceiling, palms together. Hunch those shoulders. Relax your shoulders and relax your arms. Well done, everyone. So that was a little how-to guide. I'm going to add onto this guide to give you lots of different guides to pick and choose from. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. All right, bye, everyone.